Hello and welcome. I'm George, the founder of Sharing with Care TV. Today I have an incredible interview with Kelly Drake. Kelly is not only a dear friend, but also a dynamic and inspirational executive coach and organizational consultant with a huge amount of invaluable skills, knowledge, and experience. In this insightful, thought provoking interview, Kelly will openly share her approaches and level of depth with you. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be inspired. Thank you.
Thank you for the interview. This is brilliant. I'm really looking forward to hear what you've got to say about your whole kind of journey from zero, well, not zero, but to where Kelly is now.
Yeah.
Yeah, really looking
Zero
forward
to
to
hero.
hero to yeah, yeah, fantastic. Yeah, just to
Yeah.
kickstart. Can you just kind of I don't know, just share with myself, viewers, who's Kelly? Who is Kelly?
Okay.
Your professional journey.
Yeah, sure. That'd be a nice thing to do. It's always nice to reflect, isn't it? Well, who I am now is I'm a coach and a consultant, organisational consultant. I also paint, although I haven't painted for a long time. I write. I'm writing a book. I'm a parent of 3 kids. And I'm an activist, and I try to get involved in local and national issues. So I feel like I live this quite sort of portfolio life, really, where all of those parts that I've just described are important to me. And some of them I earn money through, and some of them I don't. And how I got to here was, where do you start from? I was an only child. I spent a lot of time on my own as a kid. I was creative and interested in the world, and very interested really in I suppose what I saw around me, like the gender dynamics in my family. I was very aware, without having very political parents, but I was very aware very young of difference. And at university, that's when I started to do a lot of volunteering. And that has also been a part of my life. All my life is seeing something that's going on in the world or the community, and wanting to have a part to play in the development of solutions. So that's also who I am. And I was really lucky to come out of university and at some point during that time think, what is it I want to do? And I was always driven by that, I want to change the world thing, like a very innocent little kid. I want to change the world. I want to do good stuff. Having done some social work, I then went on to work in one organisation, which was Student Community Action, working with students who volunteered across the UK in higher education, doing social action volunteering. And I developed the organisation into it was a national Home Office funded body. So we got core funding, which was brilliant. Not a lot, but we definitely punched above our weight because we were working at ministerial level, but also at grassroots level with young people, and feeding up and into national policy around employability, social action, citizenship, etc., all that sort of stuff. But also I was like running conferences for young people and, doing training and facilitation, and, it was brilliant. And I developed the organisation, and that's where I became a chief executive. And then at the age of 36, I thought, right, I either go on and find another bigger job, or that I love, and I absolutely love that job, or I don't, and I go freelance. And that was when I think I took a couple of years to get the guts together to jump off and go freelance. And I went freelance, and the rest of that is a sort of history, really. I did 10 years as a consultant until I was about 44. And I worked with a whole wide range of organisations, little community organisations, doing sort of facilitation and strategy and planning and governance. I did one-to-one work on non-managerial supervision. And then I was working at a very big national level doing evaluations for the DFEE. I was working with UNICEF UK, worked with a national trust, worked with a lot of health bodies, worked with local authorities because I had my social work, so I could do some independent person work for looked after
Okay.
children, for instance. I mean, huge list of consultancy. It was very, very exciting.
Well, you've always been working with people just from like from the moment you've
Always.
left education.
Always.
Always been working. So it seems that you've always been coaching, probably not in the
Always.
not in the formal sense of being the coach, professional
Yeah.
coach, but you've been coaching anyway. So what type of individuals would you work with now as the professional coach?
So the people that come to me sort of fall into a couple of camps, really. I've got a bunch of people who come to me who are professionals, women and men, who are in pretty senior positions,
Okay.
who are potentially isolated in those positions. So they're chief executives, very senior managers,
Sure.
who are doing well, but are struggling with something. So whether that's something organisational, whether that's something about leadership, whether that's something about their own confidence, whether they just stepped into a new senior role. So I have that kind of professional who seeks me out, who's interested in how I can help them and hold them to do bigger, do better, do different.
Can you give any examples of what you'd actually do to make them more effective, or whether them as an individual or the organisation or both?
I mean, people
What's your proudest moment? Your proudest moment. You thought, you know what, this was
I have
really
lots
challenging.
of proud moments.
Okay. Well, share one.
Oh, well, the last couple of weeks ago, I got a text from a client saying, "I'm really sorry, I can't meet you next week. I've just been asked to be on the global leadership team." And I'm like, "Oh, great, yeah, nice, yeah," because I've been working with you. You've been taking some really big, brave steps, and it's been noticed. So
And you were part of that journey. You're helping them
yeah.
part of the journey.
Yeah, and I texted back hashtag Kelly the coach takes a little bit of credit for that, So yeah, I have those sort of moments all the time, which is what the joy of the another client I was noticing on their feed, on their Instagram feed, is an artistic director of a theatre company, and they came to me some years back, and the organisation was going under, really, and they were also just feeling like, I don't know what I'm doing. And that was a really clear piece of strategic development work with that person to position the organisation in the right place, to get the right funding, and to get that person's mind and headspace in absolutely the right place for success. Come 5 years, 6 years on, whatever it is now, national huge funding, huge infrastructure of organisation behind them, incredible productions. That's the point. Incredible artistic productions, and I know from that person that they would say, that I was a major part of making that happen, because I was behind. So, as the coach, I'm the person often behind, just in the wings,
Okay. You've mentioned artistic productions, and equally in the beginning, when you described your background, you mentioned yourself as the artist, author. With that particular client, yourself as the artist, were you able to connect with that particular client because of the artistic elements?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. I mean, I like it when people do come to me, because the work I do is inherently creative, because it's emergent. It's a bit like stepping up to a canvas and going, well, let's just see what's inside. Let's see what's inside, and let's get it out, and let's look at it. And in that process, you don't really know what's going to come. So it could be trauma, it could be colours, it could be a voice, it could be a story, it could be a narrative. I mean, things. You ask people questions, you never really know what's going to come. And then you work with it, and that's the creative process, and that's the same creative process that you would use if you were writing a book, to making a painting, to a show. You start somewhere, but you don't know where it's going to go.
And is that your approach with your own artwork? And in fact, in terms of your art, what the artist in you, what do you actually do? What's your area of interest, passion?
Well, I'm a painter.
Okay.
I'm a painter, and when I have painted, which I'll be honest, is I think the last time I picked up a paintbrush for a canvas was probably about 4 years ago, but it is really desperately in there wanting to come out. I've just been doing a lot of writing recently, but when I go to the canvas, what I like to do is I like to get colours, and I like to just think about what maybe like a little mantra might be, you know, like what would be 3 or 4 words that would describe how I'm feeling at that particular point about something. Or it might even be an image that I've seen already, like, you know, and I often see things in sort of blocks of colours or shapes on a flat, and I will start somewhere and then I will respond to that with my next gesture. So it's quite gestural, and it's quite sort of somatic, so it's quite sort of body centered rather than head centered. And you know, if I see something I like, which I often do, like, oh, I like the way those 2 colors rub together, or maybe if I like that, you know, I'll follow that. So that would be one method that I use. I also actually just paint from photographs as well. So I've taken photos of the kids and painted from those as well, which I really like. That's quite nice.
You spoke about writing as well. So what do you actually write about? What are your key areas that you like to focus on?
At the moment, I mean, I've written all my life. I've always journaled. I used to sort of I used to daily journal and diary, but at the moment I'm taking the content of a coaching program that I ran over the last couple of years called Do What Makes You Happy. It was a coaching program for women to analyze and think about and make change in their work and purpose lives. So I'm taking the content of that, which was all about how do we find purpose, how do we deal with imposter syndrome, how do we deal with self-doubt, how do we strategize, what position does networking have, stuff about kind of mindset, commitment, bravery, courage. I'm taking all of that and I am translating it into a book about what is the second act for us as professionals. What does that mean, and how do we shake it up in a really exciting and interesting way so that our professional careers, our work lives continue to give us joy. So it's about how to do that. It's a self-help book. So that's the content I'm writing at the moment. It's been a project for about the last 2 or 3 years. It's you know, it's waiting to be birthed.
But it will take time. But again, you know, you've got so much experience and so much history. So I can see how, to me, it feels like you're encapsulating all of that learning, learning journey, your own learning journey into your writing, which you'll share through coaching. Are there any key qualities? So when you are working with individuals or groups, what are the key characteristic qualities that you're trying to cultivate so it underpins the work that you're doing? Are there key qualities, values?
I think what I'm going back to what I said to you before, I think one of the things that I try and encourage people to get conscious of is consciousness. Actually, it's just like, what is it you're feeling and thinking at this point, and what is it that attracts your attention, and ask yourself the questions, what's going on? So that's what, you know, I'm trying to grow that knowledge in people, and that might be things that they notice in their lives, you know. So when people come to me and they're lost, and they're like, you know, I've been a police person for 30 years, Kel, you know, but I've had enough of it, but I just don't know what I want to do, right? That's a made-up example, for instance, but that's the kind of, you know, or, you know, I've run my own business for 20 years and I am sick and tired of it, but I want to do something else, but I don't know what it is or whatever. So my job hugely is about giving people, you know, permission, you know, to listen to themselves and to believe that what thoughts and feelings and gut feelings they have are something worth listening to and understanding and thinking, well, what does that mean? What might that tell you about what it is that you want to do next? So it's
the fact so I was going to say, the fact that you're working, your focus is on their consciousness, that becomes quite an awakening for that individual who initially comes to you, unclear about their next steps. So you're taking them on a journey for their consciousness, and it seems like they're finding their way.
Yeah,
through exploring their consciousness.
Yeah, I think the awakening is very interesting, because quite often people will say to me, God, I had no idea that was what was going on. And I'll be like, well, yeah, but you were talking about it. You were talking about it. And they're like, yeah, but I didn't really realize. So it's like taking the unconscious and making it conscious. I mean, that's what I do in my therapy. That's what my therapy is about trying to understand what's going on, what's at play, what's the dynamics, what's happened in my past that's influencing my present, that's going to dictate my future.
And they discover that for themselves. What you're walking with them, but but you're not telling them. It seems like they're discovering that for themselves.
Yeah, people discover that for themselves, and I think that's when there's the aha moments. There will often be, and some of them can be really simple, George. Like I'm just remembering a client who came to me and was very kind of what's the word? Troubled. They were troubled about something, and I just labeled what that trouble was about. All I did was I labeled it, and in labeling it, that it literally was like, oh my God,
that's could identify.
Thank you. So you've said this, and that means that I can now go and do that. So yeah, identification, anchoring people's experiences in language can be really helpful. Oh, so when this happens, you feel anxiety. Oh, I've always wondered what that feeling was. Oh, it's anxiety. Like just that can be really helpful for people. Like it's imposter. Yeah, that self-doubt thing. Oh yeah, that's a bit about imposter syndrome. Whether you like the term or not, it's helpful to describe an experience.
Sure.
People aren't left kind of,
because up in the air.
Yeah, a lot of people, unfortunately, we're not schooled in this. We're not taught this at school.
That's very true. You mentioned again activism. So how, or does your activism, area of interest in activism, does that feed into your work as well, and working with individuals?
Massively, because I'm a feminist. I'm an anti-racist. I have a understanding of the system as a sort of pretty class-ridden, pretty difficult system, patriarchal system to work within. So, if people come to me, the fact that they are a woman or a black man or, a working class by heritage person, or whatever it is, that's all part of who they are and will, to some level, dictate their experiences in the world. So having that kind of understanding about a sort of socio-economic understanding of the world and the way it operates, I think can help people understand what happens to them.
Okay. Has there ever been times when because your activism, that's going to be driven by our own values, has there been times when you're working with a client and your values have possibly clashed in some way? There's been a bit of a dichotomy between where your approach, where they're at in their thinking. And if there has been that dichotomy, how would you move forward? How would you move beyond that with that client?
I mean, I can't think of any immediate times of what happened, but I think what I tend to do these days also is, we all come to understand that we all have different perspectives, I guess, as well. And my perspective about, for instance, gender, I think a feminist perspective on life can be quite challenging for some people now, even though we understand the way the glass
absolutely
is. Sometimes people, women and men, don't want to acknowledge that that's the reality. Sometimes people don't want to acknowledge the reality of that we live in a class-ridden society still, unfortunately, and there are dynamics at play a lot, and sometimes people don't want to acknowledge it, and that's all right, you know, or maybe they've got another experience, and that's another bit, you know, maybe their experience is different, and that can be also really healthy in the work. Is like where there is two divergent opinions in the room. I mean, my work is not about opinion. I just have this as an awareness, so that it's ready there, if needed, to explain people's experiences. I think sometimes it can be useful for me to go, do you think that would have happened to a woman? Do you think that would have happened to a man? You know, do you think your heritage has got anything to do with your experiences? You know, so, I mean, I'm old enough now. Certainly when I was younger, I would have, I mean, you know, I've done enough work now to know.
You've challenged.
Yeah, exactly. I've been in enough arguments to, you know, wanting to prove my point in the past. I don't need to do that anymore. But certainly we all come at this stuff, don't we, at different places. And I'm conscious of that. And not wanting to override other people's experiences.
Okay, I'm conscious of time.
Time is it?
Your in terms of your consultancy, where would you like to take? Where's the next big leap? I know you spoke about the second act, the coaching, creating this is it a manual training program? Theme for groups. Where would you want to take that? If like your dream, what's the wish list of where you'd like to take that in its next big leap?
That's such a good question. I love that. I am just finalising the planning for a new in-person group program, and I haven't done the in-person group stuff for quite a long time now because of the usual reasons, the COVID experiences we've just gone through. So I'm just planning a new group program that will start next year, 6-month long group program, process for women who want to think about and activate their next step. And the second act is this time in our lives where we get to a point where we've had enough of what we're doing for whatever reason, whether it's good or bad. You know, yes, you've succeeded. Actually, you've had enough. Maybe people have had life experiences happen. They've had kids, and the kids have grown up a tiny bit, and they've got a bit more time. Maybe they've divorced. Maybe they've left their partner. Maybe there's been a death. Maybe the second act is that moment in your life when, for whatever reason, you get to that, oh God, okay, what's next? I really want something else, but I don't quite know what it is. In a sort of professional and work base. So I'm doing that, and the wish list would be to run this and have it become something really, really exciting, to grow a network of people who've been through it, who can then come together, and we can have regular conferences. So it becomes a really exciting network of people who are doing stuff that they are passionate and that they love, and who can share that with other people, so that we grow. You know, it's about a revolution in the way that we think about our professional lives, you know.
Fantastic. And if I wanted to be part of this network, how would I reach you? How would I make contact with you? How can
you can look, you just look on my website. It's just my name, kellyadrake.com, and all of the information is on there. Or go on my Instagram name, whatever handle or whatever it is, profile, which is Kelly A. Drake as well. And just look at anything of mine that's related to the second act, and up will come up all the information about the
Brilliant.
course. Yeah.
Brilliant. And any lasting messages for the audience? The activism. What's the activism within you? What do you want to say to the audience right now?
Well, it's what I said to you. It's a really difficult time right now, I think, with the world in its really complicated dynamics that are going on. And we were talking earlier about, you know, it's good to glance at the darkness, good to glance at it and to know it's there, but to not focus on it, and to try and focus on the light. and to try and focus as best as we can on a glass half full rather than half empty. So, you know, and to look at, and I'm not talking about, you know, necessarily gratitude diaries and all that sort of stuff. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about to be, or, you know, feign positivity. I'm not talking about that either. I'm just acknowledging that the darkness isn't all of it, and that there is a lot of other really exciting stuff around the corner for all of us, and that's worth striving for, even when it's a tough time.
Thank you, Kelly. It's been a real pleasure talking to you. Thank you for your time with Sharing with Care TV.
I've enjoyed it a lot.
I look forward to our next interviews. I'm sure there'll be loads more we can talk about, and definitely the next stage of your second act.
Thank you.
For now, thank you so much, and until next time, thank you.
Cheers. Bye, George.